So what happens when you take a highly tuned 15th century hunting machine and just, place it right in the middle of a modern two-bedroom apartment?
Well, it's a recipe for a very interesting life, that's for sure.
Right, because it is incredibly easy to look at a beagle and just see like a cartoon character. I mean, they have those remarkably soft, floppy ears and those pleading brown eyes.
Oh, the eyes get you every time.
They do. It's this undeniable, almost comical cuteness. But if you actually look under the hood of this breed, you are not looking at a modern, relaxed house pet.
No, definitely not.
So today, we are doing a deep dive into a comprehensive guide on beagle behavior and lifestyle. And we want to answer one core question for you today. What does it actually feel like to live with this specific animal every single day?
Yeah, we're totally skipping the dry bulleted lists of breed facts here.
Exactly. We are looking at how a dog operating on centuries-old hunting software turns an ordinary Tuesday walk around the block into this massive multisensory adventure.
It really is one of the most brilliant paradoxes in the canine world, honestly. You have an animal sleeping on a modern microfiber sofa, but its brain is fundamentally still roaming the misty, dense hunting fields of medieval England.
Which is just wild to think about.
Right. And they don't just occupy your physical space. They completely alter how you interact with the environment outside your front door. I mean, the friction usually happens when people bring them home expecting a generic, low-maintenance companion.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand why a beagle is acting a certain way in your kitchen today, we really have to look at the historical schedule they were genetically engineered to follow.
Yeah, so centuries ago, a beagle's entire day, its biological reason for existing, was dictated by the pack hunt.
And these weren't dogs bred to just sprint after a visual target for a few minutes.
Not at all. They were bred to wake up with a singular, intense purpose, move out into the brush together, and spend literally hours following incredibly complex, invisible scent trails across miles of open, punishing country.
Hours, just relentless tracking.
Relentless. They had to be. Then, and only then, would they return home exhausted. So the entire physiological makeup of the dog is designed to support that one specific endurance activity.
And even their physical features play into this. I mean, the guide details the biology, and it is kind of mind-blowing. Those long, floppy ears aren't just for looking cute on Instagram.
No, they serve a very mechanical purpose.
Right, they act almost like brooms. The guide says when the dog's head is down, the ears sweep along the ground, physically churning up microscopic scent particles and funneling them directly toward their nose.
Yeah, it's an incredible biological design. And that nose is attached to an olfactory bulb in their brain that is proportionally massive compared to ours.
So they aren't just smelling, oh, hey, another dog was here.
Right, a beagle doesn't just smell that another animal passed by. Their brain processes a highly detailed three-dimensional map of that scent. They can determine the direction the animal was moving, how long ago it passed, and even its general physical state.
That's just staggering.
So, today's beagle wakes up with that exact same instinctive hardware fully powered up. The landscape has just shifted from a medieval forest to, your local dog park.
Which completely redefines the concept of a morning walk. I mean, I used to think a good dog walk was just about maintaining a brisk pace and getting the heart rate up for a bit.
A lot of people think that.
But the guide is adamant that dragging a beagle along at a strict, no-stopping pace is essentially depriving them of their primary function. It actually gave me this image. Imagine taking a friend who is an absolute art fanatic to the Louvre Museum in Paris.
Okay, I love this analogy.
Right. But when you get there, you force them to sprint through the hallways at top speed, and you refuse to let them stop and look at a single painting.
Exactly. To a beagle, a fire hydrant or just a random patch of grass isn't a bathroom stop. It is a deeply complex, information-rich masterpiece that their brain is demanding they analyze.
And then if you just pull them away.
If you drag them past it for the sake of your own cardio, you are denying them the mental engagement they are genetically hardwired to crave. A physically tired beagle who wasn't allowed to sniff is still going to be a mentally frustrated beagle.
Which means they carry that unspent mental energy right back into the house with them.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if you are working from home, they might settle down nearby, but the guide points out they are rarely fully off duty.
What's fascinating here is how this constant passive scanning feeds directly into one of the biggest myths about the breed.
The lazy beagle myth.
Yes, the idea of the lazy beagle. People see this dog dozing on a rug for hours and assume, oh, they are just low-energy couch potatoes.
But they're not.
No, that isn't laziness. That is the biological conservation of energy. A well-exercised hunting dog sleeps deeply between adventures because they are waiting for the environment to give them a reason to turn back on.
So they're just on standby.
Exactly. The moment a complex new scent drifts under the crack of your front door, their brain flips a switch, and they spring into high gear. They conserve energy precisely so they can expend it all at once when the hunt resumes.
Okay, so if their brain is running this constant background scan for new environmental data, how does that work if you live in a small space?
Yeah.
The guide tackles apartment living, and I was genuinely surprised it didn't just give a flat no.
Yeah, a beagle can absolutely thrive in an apartment, but, and this is a big but, it comes with a significant condition.
The owner has to actually put in the work.
Right. The owner has to provide intentional, structured outlets for that data processing drive. If you live in a high-rise, you have to commit to varied daily walks, mental stimulation, and actively managing their vocal tendencies.
So the size of the apartment doesn't really matter?
The actual square footage of your indoor space doesn't matter to the dog nearly as much as the quality of the exploration you provide outside it.
See, I struggle to buy the yard argument, though.
Really? How so?
Well, the guide comes down incredibly hard on the idea of a backyard. If I have a massive 2-acre, perfectly fenced-in yard in the suburbs, you're telling me the dog is still going to be unfulfilled just because it's the same grass every day? Why isn't running around out there enough?
Because physical exercise without mental stimulation for a beagle is like running on a treadmill while facing a blank wall.
Huh.
Think about how their brain is wired for novelty. A static yard, even a giant one, is sensory deprivation for a scent hound.
Because nothing changes.
Exactly. Day after day, it is the exact same dirt, the same tree, the same fence line. Compare it to scrolling through a social media feed on your phone, but the feed hasn't refreshed in 3 years.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Right. You are looking for new information, you are desperate for stimulation, but nothing new is loading.
Wait, so to a beagle's nose, a beautiful, massive backyard is basically just a giant, boring, windowless room.
Precisely. And when a dog hardwired to seek out new information is trapped with a frozen feed, they become a problem solver. They become an escape artist.
Ah, so that's why they dig.
Yes. A yard-bound beagle without regular walks to explore fresh territory will start digging under the fence or squeezing through tiny gaps. They aren't trying to run away from their family. They're simply trying to find the refresh button on their environment.
Wow.
This is why a beagle in a small city apartment whose owner takes them to different parks and lets them decode new smells every day is infinitely more fulfilled than a beagle left alone all day in a sprawling country estate.
That totally makes sense. And that makes the need for secure fencing completely non-negotiable. If there is a weakness in your perimeter, a bored beagle isn't just going to casually notice it. They are going to view it as an active invitation to go to work.
Which brings us to another crucial layer of their environment. Managing their physical space is only half the equation here.
Right, because they aren't living in a vacuum.
Exactly. We have to look at the living creatures they share that space with, because those ancient pack hunting instincts profoundly dictate their social dynamics.
So let's look at families first. Given this intense drive, I would assume they might be too chaotic for young children, but the guide actually suggests they are incredibly patient and playful.
Yeah, they are deeply people-focused. Due to their pack history, they thrive in the middle of a group.
Even with loud kids.
Especially with loud kids. With young children, they tend to tolerate the chaos of a busy household very well because, historically, a hunting pack is a chaotic, noisy environment. They know how to operate within a crowd.
The guide suggests this brilliant bonding game for kids, which honestly finally makes sense to me now that we've talked about the brain mechanics.
Oh, the scent search game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the kids hide treats all around the living room or the garden and then let the beagle do a scent search. The kids get to play a game and the beagle gets to use its nose to actually solve a puzzle.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture of mental exhaustion we were just talking about, that game is far more tiring for the dog than a 2-mile jog.
Really?
Yeah.
Sniffing out treats.
Oh, absolutely. When a beagle is actively parsing scents to find a hidden treat, their brain is consuming massive amounts of glucose. Processing olfactory data is heavy neurological work.
That's fascinating.
So puzzle games like that satisfy their core drive while safely integrating them into family play. And as the family ages, the dog adapts. For teenagers, they are low-pressure companions, always willing to just hang out on the bed.
Right. And for older adults,
They are wonderfully affectionate, provided the adults are realistic about meeting those daily scent walk requirements.
but the pack dynamic changes drastically when we introduce other animals. I feel like The software really shows its age here. With other dogs, they seem to thrive effortlessly.
They do. They were bred to work shoulder to shoulder with dozens of other dogs. They usually show a visible ease and excitement around canine colleagues that you don't always see in territorial or independent breeds.
Right, but cats are a completely different biological equation.
Oh, yeah.
Because to a beagle, a cat isn't a colleague, a cat is the objective.
Exactly. A small, furry creature, moving quickly, triggers an entirely different neurological pathway. It triggers the prey drive.
So what does the guide say about living with cats?
The guide notes that beagles can live comfortably with cats, but it requires highly structured, gradual introductions, ideally starting when the dog is a young puppy.
You can't just drop a cat in the living room.
No, you are essentially asking the dog to override centuries of breeding that scream at them to chase anything small that runs away. You cannot rush that process.
And when they do find something interesting, whether it's a cat or, just the mail carrier walking up the driveway, we have to talk about how they communicate that discovery. The beagle voice.
Ah, yes, the famous baying.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. The guide explicitly traces their specific style of vocalizing back to a hunting communication system. Like, it's not a normal dog bark.
Not at all. The bay is an acoustic tool built to signal the rest of the pack across vast distances. So when visitors arrive at your house, the dog is going to loudly and proudly announce it.
That vocalization, it's wild.
It is a masterclass in acoustic engineering, honestly. A normal high-pitched bark gets absorbed by leaves and dense brush very quickly. A beagle's bay is a drawn-out, dual-toned howl that operates at a frequency designed to cut through dense, damp forests and carry for miles.
Miles.
Literally miles. It is meant to say, I have located the objective, everyone converge on my position.
Which means expecting a beagle to politely and silently sit there while a stranger walks up and rings the doorbell is kind of like installing an industrial fire alarm in your hallway and then getting furious that it doesn't send you a quiet, polite text message when it detects smoke.
That is a perfect way to put it.
It goes against its very mechanical design.
It really does. That intense sociability, that need to alert the pack, is a double-edged sword. It is the exact trait that makes them incredibly loyal, engaged family pets. They want to keep the family informed.
But they are very loud about it.
Right. It means you must work with their communication style rather than punishing them for it. The guide is clear. You can shape the behavior. You can teach them a calm greeting routine or redirect their excitement into holding a toy in their mouth.
But you can't just mute them.
No, expecting the instinct to vocalize to disappear entirely is just setting yourself up for a battle you will lose.
So living with an animal that has this hardwired drive to track, alert, and investigate requires a very specific lifestyle commitment. And reading through these sources, this commitment frequently clashes with our modern expectation of the perfectly obedient, invisible house pet.
It is a massive lifestyle adjustment. Owning this dog requires a tangible investment of time, money, and patience.
Let's talk about the financial side.
Sure, financially, because they need that mental enrichment to stay sane, you'll be constantly investing in interactive toys, puzzle feeders, and high-quality chews. The text also highlights that as they enter their senior years, routine veterinary care becomes a meaningful ongoing cost.
Grooming seems like the one area where they are actually low maintenance, though. Short hair usually means an easy time, right?
Well, yes and no. Weekly brushing, ear checks, and nail trims are straightforward. But the real commitment is seasonal management.
What do you mean by seasonal?
Because their nose dictates their movement, summer requires you to be hyper-aware of heat exhaustion. A beagle tracking a fascinating scent will literally ignore its own rising body temperature to keep following the trail.
Oh, wow. They won't stop themselves.
They won't. They also have a higher parasite risk because their face is constantly shoved into dense bushes.
That makes sense. And what about winter?
Winter. A beagle's curiosity doesn't care that it is 20 degrees and snowing outside. You still have to bundle up and get them out there. The mental need for environmental data doesn't pause for bad weather.
Wow. Okay, so what about the times we simply cannot be with them? We all have to leave the house for work or travel. Can a dog with such intense pack instincts be left alone?
This is a critical failure point for many new owners. Yes, they can be left alone, but you have to actively condition them to handle independence.
But how do you actually do that? I mean, you can't just explain to your dog that you'll be back from the office at 5 p.m.
No, you have to break the departure down into microscopic steps.
Like what?
You start by desensitizing them to your leaving cues, like picking up your keys, putting on your coat, without actually leaving.
Oh, just putting the coat on and taking it off?
Exactly. Then you leave the room for 60 seconds, then 5 minutes. You exercise them thoroughly beforehand, and you leave them with a high-value frozen puzzle feeder so their brain associates your absence with a rewarding puzzle.
And if you don't do all that?
If you skip this conditioning and just lock an unprepared beagle in an apartment for 10 hours, to them, the pack has vanished without a trace. The resulting anxiety leads to destructive chewing and hours of distress howling.
Which your neighbors will definitely hear.
Oh, they will. And traveling introduces a whole new set of variables, too. They travel well in cars with secure harnesses. But the moment you open the door in a new environment, you are surrounding them with highly distracting, unfamiliar smells.
Which transitions perfectly into the biggest myth the guide addresses, the idea that beagles are just inherently stubborn.
Oh, this one. It is the most common label attached to the breed, and it completely misunderstands canine psychology.
So what does this all actually mean? The guide argues they are making independent, instinct-driven decisions. They aren't defying you. They are just prioritizing the scent.
Right. Stubbornness implies malice or a deliberate desire to disobey. A beagle is not trying to insult you.
They aren't doing it on purpose.
Exactly. When a beagle catches a fresh rabbit scent in an open field, their brain is flooded with neurotransmitters, telling them that this scent trail is the single most important thing in the universe. If you are standing 50 yards away shouting their name, your voice is barely registering over the roar of their own instincts.
Which means if you let your beagle off the leash in a new park and they completely ignore your recall command, they aren't being a bad dog.
No.
They are actually executing the exact job they were bred to do hundreds of years ago with terrifying efficiency.
Precisely. And this raises an important question. Who actually thrives with this kind of dog?
Yeah.
Because it is very clearly not everyone.
Right.
The ideal owner is absolutely not someone looking for an off-leash, perfectly healing, silent robot. If your dream is to hike through the woods with a dog that stays perfectly by your side and never makes a sound, you will be miserable with a beagle.
You really have to find joy in their specific worldview.
You do. The person who thrives with a beagle is someone who respects the scent-driven mind. It is an owner who is willing to manage the leash, secure the fences, and actively include the dog in the daily mechanics of the household.
And the payoff for meeting them on their level is huge. The guide notes that a fulfilled beagle treats an utterly ordinary Tuesday walk with an infectious enthusiasm.
They really do.
They force you to slow down and actually notice the environment you're walking through. So to summarize what we've unpacked today, living with this breed means embracing a daily partner in exploration. Whether you are in a tiny apartment or the countryside, they ask only for the chance to use their remarkable nose and to be recognized as a full, active member of your pack.
Beautifully said. And, if we really sit with that idea of a scent-driven mind, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Oh, I like where this is going. What is it?
It is about how drastically differently we experience the exact same physical space. As humans, our primary sense is visual. We experience a room entirely in the present tense.
Right. We just look at it.
Exactly. If you walk into your living room and it looks empty to you, your brain concludes that it is empty. But a beagle experiences the world through overlapping layers of invisible scent. They don't just experience the present.
Wait, they are experiencing the past too.
Precisely. When your beagle walks into that exact same quote-unquote empty living room, they might be able to smell exactly who was sitting on the couch 3 hours ago.
Oh, wow.
They might detect the trace of a neighborhood cat that walked past the outside window at 2 in the morning. To them, the room isn't empty at all. It is a rich, three-dimensional tapestry of history.
It's like they're walking through a room filled with ghosts that only they can see.
Exactly. So how might your own daily routine change if, just for a few minutes on your next walk, you try to appreciate your neighborhood the way a beagle does?
That's a great question.
Instead of viewing the street as a static, boring backdrop that you've seen 100 times, try to imagine it as a constantly updating, invisible story unfolding all around you. Because that vibrant, hidden world is exactly where your floppy-eared ancient explorer is living every single day.